Ever wonder what it takes to make, market, and distribute skincare products that really deliver? Well, we've been at it for over 5 years, and we can't stop talking about it. Join us as we separate the facts from the fads with special guest appearances by our resident dermatology whiz, Dr. Steve Sue. This is episode 2 of Big Derm Energy, and today we're going to diagnose our diagnostic. Joined by co-founders Dave Skaff and Dr. Steve Sue. Welcome, guys.
It's great to be here.
Awesome to be here, Steve.
Welcome back, Steve and Dave. First time on the show. Why don't you tell a little bit to our audience about who you are and what your role is as founder and chief operating officer of Geology?
Yeah, sure. I'm Dave Skaff. I are co-founder and COO. I been working with Steve and Nick, our founder, since day one. I lead with Steve all of our product development and production. So the skincare quiz is near and dear to my heart because it really leads to all of the product recommendations that we make and those inform all the products that we make. So that's always been my role here, and that's what I do.
Okay, well, thanks, Dave. So let our audience kind of see what we're talking about with our skincare quiz, our diagnostic. Why don't I share my screen and we can walk through it and then we can jump into some questions. All right. So you can see my screen now. This is the Geology website. And if you come into the Geology website, you can find our quiz from the homepage. We're all about getting your routine right for you on the very first try. And we recommend personalized regimens for a step-by-step skincare routine day and night. So you just come in, click find your routine. You answer a few questions. It takes about a full minute. Kind of come in here and give us your name, your age, which I always forget mine. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us all about your concerns that you have. I don't know. What do you guys think? Maybe this one for me. It's almost winter here, so probably have changed a little bit. You can optionally give us a photo of yourself, which helps our customer service provide any answers for any questions that you might have through the skin journey. Tell us a little bit about your budget. Any other products. We also carry hair and body products as well. And then you wait while we create your results. And as you can see here, because I put that I had sensitive skin and some of my skin issues, I was recommended Regimen 3. So let me stop sharing and we can jump right into it. All right, Dave. So how did it all get started? Where did the skincare quiz come from?
Yeah, I mean, the skincare quiz came from a desire to make buying skincare really, really easy, accurate, and effective for guys, right? So when we began, there really weren't many product finders, skin quizzes, etc. And there were very, very, very few. And they didn't do much more than let you answer a bunch of questions, often which were difficult, asking things about your skin type, things that, to be honest, a lot of people actually just don't know, right? Am I combination? Am I combination oily? Am I dry? Am I sensitive, right? Sometimes people know these things, sometimes they don't. When you get into questions that are sort of traditional skincare, like what's happening in your T-zone? A lot of men don't know what the T-zone is, right? So the idea from the beginning was to make sure that we ask questions that people could answer easily and accurately, right? And from those questions, derive the perfect regimen for that, right? And so that's really sort of where we began, right? Was this idea to make skincare buying easy. Because in many cases, skincare buying is very, very confusing, right? In stores, particularly for men, but even for many women these days too, it can be intimidating and overwhelming to go through the aisles of a store or deal with the intimidating, like beauty counters in department stores, for example. So we just wanted to make the process simple, easy, and effective to sort of get the right stuff for you. That's where we began. That was always the starting.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And Steve, I assume that you derived a lot of, what became our skincare quiz from, things you see in your practice. Tell us a little bit about kind of the dermatology side of how the skincare diagnostic works. And is it similar to kind of like what you deal with your patients on a day to day?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of captures it, in a way that allows us to make important distinctions that create the right product for you and your skin type without being like 700 questions, right? Where there's like differences without real distinction because nobody has time for that. So I love that Stephen, like our quiz takes less than a minute and it's like in English, right? I think that's really important because like we're trying to balance like how do we find the right solution for you without like overly complicating things because that's just kind of unnecessary, right? So at a high level, like as a derm, like I think about skin in just sort of 5 basic types, right? Is it dry or is it oily, right? Is it sensitive or is it sort of not sensitive? And then is there sort of a combination? Those are those 5 basic things. But those are tricky categories. You know what I mean? Like that's something where, we think that way, but that doesn't naturally lead to, okay, you need this, this, and this, right? Because there's so many overlaps and there's things that like can change, right? In the winter, Dave might be sensitive, right? Because he's extra dry or whatnot. But in the summer, he's all good, maybe a little bit more oily. So, these things are kind of important to understand. It's the person, it's the environment, it's the, outside sort of, time of day, et cetera. But ultimately with geology, we try to find where something that can kind of fit and most likely to fit, but have the ability to adjust up or down, based on how you're responding. Like all skin is different. We live in different places. We behave differently. We have different sun exposures, different regimens. And so I love what we did was trying to find that balance between asking the right questions and only the minimum that we need in order to find the right solution for you and then be able to adapt if we need to adjust.
Makes a lot of sense. I mean, if somebody asked me what skin type I was, even after being here for 5 years, I probably couldn't tell you. So as guys come in to our quiz or they're trying to figure out what products are right for them, what kind of results can they get from our quiz? Should they be looking at it from more of a concern-based, approach, or should they really be considering things like their skin type?
I think it's really more about your concerns, troubles you've had in the past, and your goals, where you want to get to in the future, right? And that's what I think. I think these questions are easy for people to answer, right? If you had significant skincare sensitivity in the past, we ask about that, and that's an easy question to answer. People either know if they've had an experience like that or not, right? And a lot of people do know their goals, right? That even as a man, you might not be able to articulate um, your goals in sort of a dermatological terms, but we try to make the language we use in the diagnostic very, very simple, right? Do you want brighter skin? Great, no problem. Do you want to solve your acne? Great, no problem, right? These are easy questions, easy answer, right? That's why it only takes a minute to complete. You don't have to think very, right? We make that part of it very, very easy. We've always wanted to make it easy and sort of, I guess, like an Apple-like sense, right? Everybody understands that when you use a great product from Apple, people talk about this all the time, right? It seems so simple, right? The iPod, back when, it was so simple, right? The iPhone, it's so simple, right? All these things are very, very simple. But what belies a simple customer experience is oftentimes a very complex system on the back end, right? And so we always wanted to make the customer facing piece of our diagnostic quiz very, very simple, easy, and sort of magical almost, right? But behind that, actually, there's a lot going on, right? I mean, and we did a lot from the early days, like the very, very earliest days of quiz and product development together, that have really stood the test of time, right? We didn't develop a set of products and then create a quiz to suit those sets of products, right? We did it the other way around. We developed a first version of the quiz. And then when we were talking about the concerns that people have and the goals they want to achieve, we decided on the ingredients and the percentages of those ingredients in every single formulation across all of the products that were going to be needed to provide relief to those concerns or help customers achieve those goals in particular, right? And so that's, I think, what makes our diagnostic experience so much different than others, which are really just product finders, right? These other companies have product find. They have a set of products and they need to ask questions that will lead to a suggestion of a set of products, right? Our system does not work that way. We began with concerns and goals. We developed the ingredients and the percentages that were going to be needed to address those. And then from those, we actually developed our products, right? It was totally the opposite way that most companies do this kind of thing.
100%. I mean, I'm really proud of the fact that we're an evidence data driven personal care product company, right? And I think one of the things that differentiates us is we really think about personalization in a really results oriented way. So like for me, it's like we definitely, number one, need to address your concern as a guy, right? Whether that's like darkness under the eyes, whether that's acne, whether that's, just skin sun protection, like whatever that is, right? Like that's really important. Number one, we got to solve the problem. Like number two is when we solve your problem, right, with products that are driven by your needs and the ingredients driven by your needs based on scientific evidence, we're also raising your overall skin health. And if we raise your overall skin health, we're just raising your overall health, right? And so solve the problem, but then raise overall skin health, skin wellness, so that you benefit from that in the long term. And so this isn't just like, hey, let's use this for 2 months and be done. Geology is offering a health product, a lifestyle product that is long term, that both solves your immediate problem, but kind of drives better skin health on the long term for individuals that don't come in with just like 1,000% literacy on skin type and this or that. And that's cool. We make it accessible. We make it 100% scientifically driven.
Yeah, Steve, you bring up some really good points there, and it's a really good transition to some of the things we want to talk about in terms of what guys have been telling us, in the skincare quiz. And one thing you bring up that I find particularly interesting is kind of like this idea of skin health. And yeah, our quiz is designed to help you with very specific concerns and results. But one thing we don't talk about enough, I think, is like preventative, skincare, right? For just as a routine. I mean, what's your general advice like on that versus concern based, right? I mean, obviously, as a guy, like we're concerned with aging and signs of aging and under eyes. Some guys have oily skin or acne or sensitive skin and other concerns. But what's like the general approach on why a guy should just preventatively do skincare?
Yeah. So, as a dermatologist, like skin is our largest organ, right? It reflects our overall health. It's such an important part of wellness and everything related to that. So like taking care of your skin is like taking care of your heart, right? Taking care of your brain. I mean, it's the same thing, right? I think the other thing that's a benefit to it is that it's also what makes you look how you look, right? And so, I mean, it's sort of a joke, right? What do we spend money on? Like things that increase pleasure, decrease pain, and make us look a little younger, right? And so that's some things that, taking care of your skin is going to give you that kind of benefit. I think from overall skin wellness, I mean, here's the thing. The most common cancer in the world is skin cancer. Every single day, 10,000 Americans are diagnosed with skin cancer every single day. 1 in 5 people in America will get a skin cancer. It's 20%, right? If you think about all that, what drives skin cancer predominant by a huge margin? Ultraviolet radiation, right? And so the ability to take care of your skin will then take away that, lower that risk, right? Obviously, using tanning booths is really important, but I think that's a key thing that we need to think about, right? Just from an overall skin health, why do this? Why use a sunscreen every day? Why be part of a skin regimen? Like that's one pain point I want to take away. The other is that the vast majority of aging is ultraviolet radiation, right? This is why we're doing things with sunscreens and retinols at night that drive that overall skin wellness to keep you looking younger longer, right? And that's sort of another benefit, right? Both health as well as wellness. So I think it's critical. I think it's just part of like you exercise, you eat right, you take your vitamins, you take care of your mental health. take care of your skin. It should be a big part of what just being well means.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense, Steve. And I think I shared a stat with you that we found a couple of weeks back, and it was something like men are 3 times less likely to wear sunscreen daily than women, right? Which was just astounding because and part of it is because they don't have skincare routines, right? And I think like a big part of that reason is because it's complicated, and it's exactly what the skincare quiz was designed for. So over the past 5 years, we have had over 2 million people take our skin quiz. Pretty astonishing, right? It's a lot of stats. It's a lot of data on the back end that we have to work with. Let's look at some interesting stats. I'd love to get your guys' reactions to some of these. So over 60% of people tell us they don't have a skincare routine. This percentage has actually come down since we started. It used to be as high as 75%. And depending on the age, that also can vary. The older you get, 40s, 50s, that percentage sometimes gets up into the 80 percentage. Why do you think that is?
I mean, I think to me that's hard to answer, right? I don't think it's because naturally people are doing more skin routines. I mean, I think if you look at like Gen Z, right, as they get a little bit older, there's just more of awareness from guys and males and females about the importance of that. But I think males is a fast growing segment of sort of interest in skin health, right? That's different than baby boomer, it's different than millennials, Gen X. So I would sort of guess that probably from the demographic shift, it's kind of a naturally more interest in skin wellness that's probably reflected in some of those changes. And I think if you look at it on the aesthetic markets, me as a dermatologist, like Botox in men is one of the rapid growing areas, right? Like Botox for women, been exposed to that for decades, but for men, it's becoming more normalized, more accepted, more part of it. So sort of seeing that as maybe a tip of the spear probably has that downward trend. And I think for Gen Zers, like there's just more like recognition and okay with like taking care of yourself, whether it's a man or a woman, right, around this stuff. So I think maybe that kind of explains that downtick, which I think overall is a good thing, right? Because if people are taking care of their skin, less skin cancer in the future, more awareness, right, more normalization of it, and I think that might be one explanation, but I'm guessing, but I think maybe that makes sense.
I mean, we've been around for, 5 years, really 6 years if you count the first year that we were building the company before we were on sale. And at that time, there was always the thought that, hey, the tipping point for men using skincare is right around the corner. And the tipping point really didn't happen until about 18 months ago. At that point, we ticked over, as far as I know, and the most recent data I've seen says that as of about 18 months ago, more than 50% of millennial and Gen Z men are using skincare. So I believe that we really have finally hit the tipping point, and I think we're seeing that right now, definitely in terms of the number of men that are buying from us, of course, but also just other new brands entering the space. People are just getting a lot more attention. Men are just bringing more to the table here than they ever have before, and they're doing a lot more of it online too, as we know, right? So I mean, it doesn't surprise me that the percentage coming into our diagnostic quiz right now says 60% don't have a routine, because I'm sure there are a lot of older men coming in as well who are new to skincare for the first time, new to skincare and using it for the first time. So that doesn't surprise me as an overall percentage. But, I do think that we are sort of past or at the sort of, tipping point right now where more men than not are using skincare and are sort of almost expected to.
Yeah. I would love to see that number continue to, go down as a percentage. And I think it's very rewarding, to see guys get started and take care of these concerns. I love seeing the reviews that come in from guys, that, had acne or had dark under eyes, and then, we fixed their problems, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
very rewarding. And,
I very much agree with that. I mean, I think that many of our best customers, as we know, are people that have tried other skincare before us,
Yeah,
right?
right.
So I think the big difference is often if you've tried other skincare, you've often had a disappointing experience, right? I mean, the big difference between our products generally and other products is that we have very high percentages of active ingredients that have been clinically proven to improve skin health, period, right? There's just a lot of skincare out there that isn't much more than glorified lotion. I mean, I hate to say it, but if you don't have active ingredients and you just have some basic moisturizers, that's not worth nothing, but it's not worth a lot. So if you're a man or a woman who's experienced some degree of disappointment with skincare in the past, we at Geology are a great landing place for you, right? Because you're probably going to have a much more satisfying and effective experience that meets your concerns and satisfies your goals than you've had with other brands.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And I'd add
So
two
another
cents.
stat. Oh, were you going to go ahead, Steve?
Yeah, I'd add 2 cents to that. I mean, as a dermatologist, I often kind of see people that have struggled with things, and they come to my office, and I call it the Walgreen bag sign. So you got like a plastic bag from Walgreens, and it's got all these like stuff in there. It's like, hey doc, like none of this stuff works. There's like all kinds of stuff of like crazy variety of expensiveness, like $2 to $200, half open, different colors. I mean, it's like kind of breaks my heart because like clearly like they've tried a bunch of stuff, putting things together that maybe that shouldn't be, spending a lot of money. And so I do agree with Dave that like, starting right is really great, right? So I think there's a benefit where, you know, finding us first and getting that right, regimen, everything kind of working, fantastic. But I also like take an extra level of satisfaction where you tried all this stuff and you're like, okay, don't worry, like settle, we're going to take care of you. And then they just get them on the right pathway. So I think either way, I think Geology's got a great story there. And I think overall, I feel like to me, this is kind of something that makes what we do really special.
Yeah, I think as a brand, I mean, we appeal to people who know skincare and people who don't. If you don't know skincare, we're going to make it easy and you're going to have a great experience. If you do know skincare, you're going to look at the products that we've recommended for you through our personalization system or really any of our other products and realize these are legit, clinically proven ingredients, high percentages that are hard to find elsewhere in such high percentages. So if you know skincare, you're going to recognize our stuff as solid and effective. And so we can take pride in servicing both, men and women who know skincare and those who don't.
So one of the things that we've seen over the years, and Dave, I know this has led to, some product development just from learning from the diagnostic. And Steve, I'm sure you see this in your practice as well. But fighting acne has always been the number one concern. And, this is really despite age, which is really interesting. Even as you get into 30s, 40s, and 50s, fighting acne is still a primary concern for a majority of people taking our quiz. So Dave, I think this is going to be kind of a two-part question for you. I would love to hear how this has led to, the development of Clear System and what's coming, what do we have to look forward to with Clear System in the future in 2025? And Steve, I want to know from your end, is this similar in your dermatology practice or is acne the number one concern? And how does it vary by age?
Yeah, sure. Do we want to start with me out
Sure.
there? Great. Yeah, I mean, the diagnostic quiz has always been a great source of first person data in just so many different ways. And we've always been able to do sort of mini research projects, even by asking customers different questions about, their goals or their concerns within that and learning. To be honest, the initial set of products that we created from day one and the initial diagnostic have all really, really stood the test of time. I mean, we developed over 20 different SKUs, 10 products in 2 different sizes when we launched the initial diagnostic way back when. And to be a new brand launching with 10 products and 20 SKUs is actually insane. We didn't know it at the time, but we know it now. That's just sort of an insane thing to do. What was nice about that is that it really, really did meet the mark for many, many years. One of the first things we noticed is that we didn't really have a great like skin brightening solution, right? And that's a big goal. A lot of people want to have brighter skin, get that sort of glow to some degree, right? That's people talk about that in skincare all the time. And so one of the first major new products that we created was our vitamin C serum, which since we launched it 3 years ago, has become one of our most popular products. But that's one of the very few products that we've actually added to our core diagnostic experience in over 5 years, right? We have created a couple of other skincare products. Obviously, we've launched dedicated acne care with Clear System, body care, and hair care along the way. But those aren't products that relate to our sort of core diagnostic quiz experience. So in truth, because we put so much effort into the quiz and the ingredients and the product development at the very beginning, a long time ago, we did create a system that has stood the test of time and does really just as good a job today as it did at the beginning, with very minimal new product development over the years. That's something I think we're really very, very proud of. Obviously, Clear System, our acne care line, did come directly from the data that we learned in the diagnostic quiz, right? When we saw that for years, an aggregate of all ages, over 70% of our incoming customers cited acne as a major concern. We really wanted to create a dedicated acne care system that was based on so much of what we've learned, right? We do personalized regimens to meet the needs of acne as a primary concern all the time. And so we were able to basically distill the most popular acne fighting regimens, and from that create Clear System Acne Care, which is sort of a more sort of value priced offering that's now available at Target, will be available at Target in 2025, sort of meet those needs. Now, it really is work that we did directly from what we learned in the diagnostic quiz.
Yeah, and I think our audience is getting a little sneak preview. I don't know if that was on purpose, Dave, or by accident behind you, but if you look in real close, you can kind of see what's coming in the future there. Steve, I'll turn this over to you. Acne as a concern as a dermatologist, I'd imagine it's very, very prevalent. Tell us a little bit about it.
I mean, derm is an interesting field because we've got a few diseases where like huge percentage of people have, maybe one of them. And then we've got a huge number of diseases, very few people. So that's why derm is hard, right? Like I think it's, Seinfeld and all this kind of making fun of derm. But, we've got thousands and thousands of skin diseases. And, at the end of the day, you got to know which one's which and differentiate the most common, the super rare. But acne is very top on the list of patients I see. I typically see the more complicated, difficult ones that need oral therapeutics or Accutane or whatever. But it's just like a consistent, challenging issue. 50 million Americans have. So think about it. That's a huge percentage of people. Okay. And then if you're between the age of 12 and 24, 85% will have acne. 85%, right? So, it's not surprising. It makes a ton of sense. It's everywhere. And I think it's fully appreciated that in your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, even beyond, many, many people still have acne. They're kind of undertreated, underappreciated because they think, gosh, I'm past my teenage years. Why do I have acne? There's something wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with you. I mean, this happens. It happens a lot. You just don't recognize it. So I'm really proud of the Clear system that we've developed. I think it really addresses an unmet need in the market, right? Where you have something effective, but also safe for skin that kind of addresses this, no matter whether you're a teenager or an older adult, no matter if you're a man or a woman. And acne, we just got to recognize, like, it's not just this, okay? Individuals with acne have higher degrees of depression. If you're a teenager, higher, degrees of suicidality. It's a major effect on your social, mental health. Like these scar, right, permanently too. And so I think these are kind of things like, let's respect acne as something that really affects people's lives, right? And something that we can make a difference in with products that actually work. And I love the fact that we sort of look at it from multiple degrees. Like it's not one end all single, cream that addresses acne. Acne is complicated. It's a you got to respect it as an enemy, right? You have to hit it in multiple fronts. I think geology does an excellent job with what we developed, and we clinically proved it as well. So that's something I'm really proud of as well.
That's great advice, Steve. A little earlier, we talked a little bit about, preventative, skincare and, just taking care of the health of your skin. One thing we see in the diagnostic is a lot of guys who are under 20, in their 20s and 30s, are telling us that they have primary concerns of wrinkles and dark under eyes. I wish as, a 41-year-old man that I started skincare earlier. I'm lucky that, I got a good routine in my mid 30s when I joined the geology team. But Steve, what's your advice? And Dave, maybe what's your advice for those starting skincare in their 20s and 30s? What ingredients, should they be looking for preventative health of their skin, versus the concern-based stuff?
I mean, first off, get started because your 40-year-old self is going to thank your 20-year-old self. I'm super biased, but Geology's got a great system for you. One is UV protection. It's a good sunscreen you'll use every day that doesn't cause acne. I think we've got a fantastic AM green. The second is a retinol. I mean, UV protection and retinol, those are the two big hitters, right? And I think for extra stuff in terms of things that are specific problems, you got a fantastic eye cream with kojic acid. I think that works really well. We've got great moisturizing hyaluronic acid product. Niacinamide's a great antioxidant. None of those ingredients are new. None of those ingredients are fats. They're not red seaweed kelp from Korea, from this one specific bay harvested by mermaids. Like these are things that we know work, and we work really hard to source really, really great ingredients that kind of deliver on those things. So just do those consistent. That's going to get you the win. That's going to get the results you want, but also the skin health improvements that you're looking for. And you don't need to worry about the noise, right? Am I missing this, or do I need to add that? Like the best skin regimens are the ones you'll actually use consistently every single day.
Yeah. I mean, there have been a lot of skincare fads over the last 5 or 6 years since we've been in business. And one thing I can tell you is that the statement that Steve just made has not changed in 6 years. I mean, what he just said was what we heard when Nick and I began our initial product development 6 years ago. I mean, almost verbatim, right? And we've stuck with that. And kudos to Steve, because there are actually some very bold ingredient and formulation choices that we've made because of what he just said. I mean, our personalized regimens all include an SPF 15. We have some non-SPF moisturizers, but we've always chosen to exclude those from our personalized regimens because we believe in the importance of sun protection so much, right? You cannot get a personalized regimen without some sun protection. Fortunately, we've made our SPF 15 and SPF 30 formulations light, easy to use. They feel great on the skin, and they're not just SPFs, right? They also have niacinamide, hyaluronic acid, argan oil in some cases, azelaic acid in some other cases, right? So we've made these very ingredient-rich SPF formulations that do more than just protect your skin, and which feel great to use, so that sun protection is never a compromise. Retinol for night, right? This is something that women have known about and been practicing and preaching for years. Women know powers of retinol-based night creams. When we started what we were doing 6 years ago, I don't know of a single other male-focused brand that was offering retinol for men, period. Literally, not a single one. Now, almost every single one of our competitors over the past 3 or 4 years has developed some type of retinol product, right? I do credit Steve for helping us really kind of revolutionize the use of retinol for men. You cannot get a personalized regimen from Geology that does not include a retinol-based night cream at some level of retinol, right? And we have 3 different levels to meet varying needs for varying skin types and situations and goals, right? So the choice to always include an SPF and always include a retinol-based night cream in our personalized regimens was very, very bold 6 years ago. It's actually still very, very bold. And the key here is that it's always prioritizing proper skin health, right? We're never asking our customers to compromise and choose something that's lesser in order to meet their goals, right? Never. So kudos to Steve for beating that drum from day one and sticking with it now.
Yeah, and kudos to you, Steve, for making my skin look as good as it does at my age. I owe you all the credit there. You guys talked a lot.
Your significant other should think. Not,
Yes,
it's
yes.
not about you guys, but
You guys talked a lot about, the power of quality ingredients. And, over the years, we have made a few changes to our diagnostic. We've introduced the 0.3% retinol. We've introduced azelaic acid. We have added some body care with the Acne Control body wash, which has both AHA and BHA in it. Where do you see the quiz and formulas kind of going from here? I know you said a lot about the staple of ingredients, but we have added in a few. What's the future of the quiz?
I would love. I would not want to add more questions. Maybe we change the question slightly, right? I think to me, it's like, I love how simple it is. Like, just get it done in 1 minute, get a personalized recommendation. I'm a big, believer in parsimony. But what I would love to do, Stephen, is think about how we can, have some closed loop feedback, right? For like, do we get the regimen right? Was it to this or to that? That's going to be really helpful. I don't know how many images we've captured. I think, maybe you should comment on how we protect everybody's privacy, right, with those images and how you guys trust us with that. But I think that could be a good opportunity for us just to improve the regimen prediction, right? Add that to the questions so that we can use, AI and these kind of things just to make a better solution for you, right? And I think to me that would be a really exciting area for us to take.
Steve, that's really interesting you mentioned that because, we've talked a lot about a post-purchase diagnostic as maybe the future. I mean, what do you see, Dave, if we do that to get feedback and get a loop, from our customers? What does that look like?
Yeah, I think we should sort of start by actually just talking about how we get feedback now. I mean, we get feedback now through our customer service experience. I mean, the diagnostic quiz not only creates a better buying and better product experience, but it's also designed and has been designed since day one to create a better customer service experience, right? One of the reasons that I was motivated to start this company was because I really thought that we could create a better customer experience, customer service experience online than you could get in a store. Look, when you go into a store, you want to talk to whomever may be at the counter about your skin and skincare experience, you're probably going to get a different person one day than you will another day than you will another day, right? And that person isn't really going to know anything about your history at all, right? Other than what you tell them in that moment. But what our quiz does is it instantly establishes both a baseline from where you are at that moment and a bit of history from what you've told us up to that, right? And then with every customer service interaction, we're building on, right? So we regularly, every day, field questions from customers that say, hey, I got this. I'm having a little bit of trouble with this product, that product, or the other product. What do you recommend, right? So our team is trained, and Steve is helping field these questions on a weekly basis as well, right? To respond to each and every one of those questions. And so when you write into customer service, instantly, every one of our customer service agents can see the history, what you've already told us through the diagnostic, right? And then they know also how long have you had the products, right? Then they know what you've told us in the email, right? And then we can ask questions that are based. So we start our customer service experience with every customer at a very advanced starting point. We know a lot because of what most customers have already told us in the diagnostic list. And that's a huge, huge advantage. And I think it makes for a more comfortable experience, right? So it helps us very accurately, I would say, adjust your regimen whenever we need to make an adjustment, right? We have multiple cleansers. We have multiple morning creams. We have multiple night creams. We have multiple eye creams, right? So if one isn't working for you, we can try another, right? And we do that all the time. That's one of the sort of, I think, things that we probably don't talk about very much, but like the customer service experience behind the scenes is also very much informed by the diagnostic quiz. And again, I think really better than you can get in a store, not better than you can get in Steve's office, but certainly better than you can get in a store. because of the quiz.
Yeah. I mean, great points, Dave. And, we're fortunate that the quiz works, right? And it gets it right a lot of times on the first try. We actually don't get, an insane amount of people who do need to change their formulas. We do get people a lot of times who are writing in, as you said, months later. And Steve, you'd probably be happy to hear this, but they had sensitive skin and they stuck with, a retinol on a 0.1%, and then they upgrade to 0.2 and 0.3 over time. That's definitely very common. But I really appreciate your guys' time today in diagnosing the diagnostic, some really valuable information for our audience. If you haven't taken the geology diagnostic, please head to geology.com, geologie.com. You can take it right there from the homepage and see what results you get for yourself. So thanks, guys. And Steve, I'll see you on hopefully the next episode.
Stevens, see you guys. Thank you.